Congrats. Oh my gosh. I am still singing because I have to stand up and sing with who doesn't when Don't Stop Believing comes on. Congrats, everybody. And welcome back, everyone, too. I hope that you enjoyed that as much as I did. I am so proud of this whole team. And I just want to take a quick second to acknowledge our stage management team, which is Miranda and Sylvia. Because trying to do this live karaoke singing thing and why and Moses, maybe you can, we'll have Moses in just a sec. Maybe tell us a little bit about that trying to sing live karaoke over the internet thing, which I'm not sure we've seen a lot of.
Oh my God, girls. It is the most difficult thing. Because usually I think they usually like sing and then record it and dub it through the track and then we'll just lip sync, but we want to do it live. So the stage management team backstage are playing the track. So by the time the track go through the interweb and project into my speaker and I thought that I am on tempo, it's actually a second or couple seconds late. So Alan, the director, is like, you are off. And I'm like, no, girl, I am on. What do you mean? Yeah. They're like, no, you're off. And I'm like, okay, I guess I will hear it and I will jump a beat before to sing on track so that you all will hear it on track. So in my ear is painfully bleeding. I'm like, I am on now. I'm just sing the first note and just keep on tempo, and I just pray to the karaoke gods that work out.
I think it worked out, and I wanted to. Now that we have Moses, I wanted to open it up to any questions. If our audience has, go ahead and drop them in the comments and let us know. We'd love to try and answer some of them for you, and I will ask our folks to jump in. Just one sec. All right. Yeah. Let us know if you got any questions. Obviously there's so much comedy. There's so many great moments that, we're laughing at, but it's also some heartbreaking moments. I think Cheryl, we meet Mrs. Rhee, we meet David's mom, and Moses, maybe you can jump in and tell us a little bit about that process and that feeling, of what's this tension between you and your dad, and how that plays out in what you decide to do. Then you go forward with it with Wai.
Yeah, I mean, I think that when you want to be seen by the people that you love the most, and you finally reveal yourself, there's always that fear of rejection, and I just have so many friends and my own brother as well who had to go through that experience of revealing that he was gay, and that I just remember what that was like as a 10-year-old kid, experiencing his kind of dilemma, his back and forth pain about it, because it's complicated. It's complicated when you have to live a different version of yourself in one world and then, a different version of yourself with people that you really love.
Yeah. I think most of us can relate to that, at least to some degree. And certainly in Asian American communities, we feel a lot of that as first generation kids, as children of immigrants, we do feel a lot of that sometimes. So David, we have, of course, artistic director David Rhee with us too in this conversation. And I wanted to ask you and Wai a little bit about this process of writing. Obviously, this ZAC EFRON was written pre-COVID times. And you've adapted it to our now times, and you continue to do that sort of as we go through the process and present one part of it. Now we're presenting part two. Can you talk a little bit about how that's working? How do you keep it so current?
Why? I'll let you answer that question.
Oh no, Wai, you're muted.
I'm always muted. I am. Fire me. No managing directing position anymore. we wanted to do this for the longest time, and last year, the whole year, we're like, we're missing theater. We really want to put something for our inaugural season, because we also promised people, that we're a new company and we're gonna do new things.
Yeah.
And so we thought about maybe ZAC EFRON can work. And once the first round, we didn't add it as much. We just kind of let it, just let it as it is. But after the first inauguration event, it just feel like people want it. People want more of the play.
Right.
And we decided to do part 2. And David basically changed most of the setting, like so that it will work in this format. But originally the script, these 3 or 4 scenes are already kind of in that YouTube land already. So that, the structure are there. But how are we going to convey that we are in the same room, but in the same area, but we're in different rooms, things like that. So yeah, he changed most of the setting of the show, but originally the show is already on track with the, YouTube performing and everything else.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I mean, like, I don't think I can take sole credit. I'll be honest with you. Because this was written pre-pandemic, all the pandemic stuff wasn't in there. And literally, with our first reading, our director, Helen, well, first of all, there's got to be this acknowledgement that this play wasn't this idea that I or Y had. We were all out to dinner. It was myself, Y, and Cheryl. And we were talking about how many plays are out there that represent Asians that are not about extreme examples. It's just about people falling in love, and we were like, okay, there's Miss Saigon, the Vietnam War, The King and I, White Woman Comes, shows how barbaric they are. And all of these plays that were out there, and, to be honest, even M. Butterfly and whatnot, you got this Chinese Spy. And we're like, is there a play that's out there that is just 2 people falling in love, And we, for the life of us, there was 3 actors, and we could not think of a play. So Wai and I are having this sort of like back and forth, kind of like what you saw in the play. And Cheryl just stops us and she goes, "This is your play. You've got to write something about this." So literally, she's the one who was the impetus for it. And then I started, if you guys have not seen Wai's YouTube channel, his actual tarot channel, it's a must. A lot of the lines that we stole are from his YouTube channel. So, I don't think I can take sole credit. Then COVID hit, and all of a sudden we were like, what happens if David goes out looking for a date? Even though COVID is happening, the stakes are even higher all of a sudden. And that was Helen Young, who was our first director. And she was just like, what happens if it doesn't matter that there is a pandemic happening? He's so lonely and he wants to find love so badly that he's actually risking his life to find it. And then for this reading, you had Alan Muraoka going, okay, let's bring more of the pandemic in because a lot of this doesn't make sense. Would mom actually be blah, 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 blah? Would David and and he kept on sending me notes and saying, we need to do this, we need to tweak it, we need to tweak it. So I can't take sole credit for it because it really was this communal sort of effort to do this. And then during a meeting with Token, Alka actually brought up this idea and she was like, what if we do this in increments? And I was, me being the traditionalist, I was just like, no, we are a theater company. And I couldn't have been more wrong because it has really just worked out to our benefit. So, yeah.
Well, I think that it's worked out so well so far. And obviously, one question that has come up is, again, for you, David and Wai, just how you go about writing yourselves as characters. Since you talk about literally using a lot of, Wai, your own natural language and just who you are, it is so refreshing to see. We have another comment that is just refreshing to see 2 gay Asian characters in one play. And that shouldn't be refreshing, but it is, right? It's just a simple thing. And you get to be yourselves in so many ways. But how does it feel to write for your characters?
Why?
I have been, I don't want to say complaining, but I have been talking to a lot of my friends because I am aware that I have an accent. I am weary. Like I am like, oh, I probably shouldn't audition for a Shakespeare play because I have an accent and I can't sound right. And every single time I don't get cast, sometimes I'm like, yeah, it's probably because my accent. And what can I do? I thought about, getting a coach and have a, natural dialect, just to fit in. But it never feel right for me. Yeah. And so when this, collaboration, I was like, when we were writing it, and I literally told David, I'm like, I don't sound like that. I wouldn't say, this is like too polished for my taste. So then we'll talk back and forth, and we'll actually literally write the dialogue. And the idea of like creating something that is uniquely us, and yet at the same time can be available for the next generation or whatever, that's why I believe in this project so passionately.
Yeah, I mean, I think Moses, you could probably talk to about this too, to be honest with you, and Cheryl, and all of us who are on the panel right now. You know what? We've played by the rules for decades. I mean, we have played by the rules for so long. And I just got to a point where I remember, like, all of a sudden Hamilton hit. To me, there's acting before Hamilton and there's acting after Hamilton. I remember after Hamilton hit, I was in New York getting my MFA in playwriting. And when I came back to Chicago, my agent calls me and she's like, you are so in right now. Everybody's going to want you. And all of a sudden, the theaters that wanted nothing to do with me, and a lot of these things that we say in the script are actual stuff, all of a sudden, they wanted me. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it felt really great. But there was another part of me that was like, where were you before Hamilton, though? And I remember one of our board members very kindly said, okay, if we're going to do a theater company, we have to do A, B, and C in order to get the Jeff Awards. The Jeff Awards are the Chicago version of the Tonys. And I was just like, no, let's stop doing this. Our whole life, our whole career has been about bowing down, kowtowing towards these powers that keep dictating how it's supposed to be. So finally, I was just like, no. Let's, you saw what Lin-Manuel was doing. I mean, and I'm going to go even, you saw what Ben Affleck, when his career was like going down the tubes, also he was just like, all right, I'm going to write and direct my own film then. And also you saw all these people going, you don't want anything to do with me. But guess what? And Lin-Manuel has a story where after he made In the Heights, went out to Hollywood, and they would only hire him for side gigs. And I'm just like, here's this major talent, and he's not given the credit that he deserves. So he was just like, fine, I'm going to make Hamilton. Yeah. So it was literally just us going, stop. We don't want this narrative that and this is Token's mission statement. We don't want this narrative placed on us where you get to dictate what our stories are about. So literally, Wai and I sat down and we wrote this because it was like, let's tell our narrative, even if it's just completely ridiculous, even if it's just something that when people see it, they're just confused, they're entertained, they've never seen it before, etc. And the list goes on and on. Moses, I mean, like, I'm sure you can speak to this, this experience also.
Yeah, no, I feel like this is a furtherance of a conversation that started back in, the 60s and 70s with Frank Chin and the Chicken Coop Chinamen, and like those theaters that started up in Seattle, San Francisco, New York, all these theaters that then came along with creating plays for their people, right? Exactly what you're saying, that you just have to create your own work. And that's when people are going to recognize and appreciate it. I mean, the first example at the top of my mind right now is a playwright named Qui Nguyen, who has a movie that is about to come out, or just came out, Raya, right? And he started off in New York, not able to get mainstream work, but he was like, I'm just going to create this company called the Vampire Cowboys and write and have my partner, Robert Ross Parker, direct these shows and build an audience. And they featured Asian actors, Asian characters. There are lots of ninjas. There was a lot of rapping. It was very unique. And then he just took his work and just kept refining it, kept on doing it. And I think that was probably the most important thing, was that he stayed true to his voice and built an audience. And then those people kept coming back. And that's why I think that Token Theater is such a great great company. I'm so honored to be part of this inaugural year that you guys are having. It's because of that we just have to create our own stories and keep doing it.
And we are so honored to have you with us this time. One of the fun things about this ZAC EFRON model that we've created is that it gives us an opportunity to bring in more artists per production. So this time we were able to have Cheryl come in and play Mrs. Rhee, which is amazing. We had a director for part one. This time we had the privilege of having Muraoka come and direct us this time. And we had Telly Leon before, we have Moses this time, and we have Wai, who sort of helps anchor it throughout. So it's just, it's one of the things we noticed also as South Asian and Asian artists and artists of color in general is, we have to create a lot of our own content, but we also have to create a lot of the opportunities that maybe some of us who've been around for a while didn't always get.
Yeah.
So it makes me very proud that as a theater company, we're able to do some of that. Helen, maybe you could speak to some of, how those opportunities have changed, at least in Chicago and this region over the years.
Cheryl, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Cheryl, yeah.
Yeah, it's changed tremendously. It's fun because it's just such a difference, to have Token here and this opportunity to bring these artists in and to have a place where we can all play together. The opportunities before, I've just been very, very lucky, but my experience was frequently, and I'm comfortable with it, being the only Asian in the room. I mean, that's what I'm accustomed to because that's what my work experience was. And that's cool. I was actually raised that way, kind of. So like, it's fine, but the stories, I'm not driving the stories. I'm glad just to have a place there. And here we're driving the stories,
Right.
When we were, when Alan was directing at one point, he was telling you got to drive this scene. What a treat to be told that, the woman is driving the scene. And that didn't happen so much in the past. So to have a place, I can remember the earliest readings I did where you'd suddenly be with an Asian cast. In fact, that's where I met David, was an Asian cast, and man, was that fun, because we were all driving that, and it was an adapted script, but this is like a whole new thing happening.
And that's the thing. I think that once we start to do this kind of work, we actually see and realize that it is very relatable. We have one of our guests who says this pandemic material really adds a lot to the story, and we as the audience are experiencing it too. And it's easy to connect with those experiences personally.
Oh, can I say something else?
Yeah.
Let me say something else, because what's also exciting, I wanted to mention that Chicago is a place that they're coming to. That, Goodman had started bringing people in, and that was great, because although often they got the parts, but we got to undersize so we could see them. But for us to be bringing them in this, even in this format, it makes it actually easier for us to cross-seminate with the coast,
Yeah.
And it's been with these productions really exciting for Chicago to be able to step out and up and out in this way.
And I will say this. Initially, I did not want to do ZAC EFRON. My thing, as the company members know, was we're doing our town. We're going to do the most traditional play, cast it with all Asians, to say that this is our town too. And to Cheryl Hamada's credit, she's very much, this is why she's playing my mom specifically. She was nagging at me, sent me texts every time we would go out, being like, how can we do our town? What the heck, not going to do anything. We have to do ZAC EFRON. I'm like, no, I'm the artistic, I went on my high horse and I was like, I'm the artistic director. This is what we're doing. And after we would be done with dinner, she would send me texts. It's like, literally, and then I'm not joking about this. I'm not joking about this. Emails that were pages and pages long of why we needed to do an original work. You know what I mean?
And it shows, right? That how do we tell our stories and control a narrative if the story isn't our own anyway? So it's great to have an original piece. it really helps us to forward our whole mission, I think, in that regard. As we are getting close to wrapping up, I do want to give a couple of shout outs to some old friends and new who joined us today. We have Lisa and Simran, who's back. Hey, Simran, welcome. We have Linda, we have Michael, we have Betsy, we have all kinds of support and all kinds of friends. We cannot do this without you. And so we do just want to encourage you one more time. Nina, you want to jump in and give us some info on supporting?
Yeah. So there are a few ways that we'd love to have you stay engaged with us. One is, like Wai, we also have a YouTube channel, and that's how you're watching this. We would love it if you subscribed and stay engaged with us. So hopefully, as we also continue to do virtual work, you can stay on top of it and watching it. Of course, you can, again, if you have the ability, please go to tokentheater.net, hit that support us link and donate. We really appreciate that. That makes a big impact. And also you can check out our Facebook, our Instagram, just stay engaged with us and keep up so you can see ZAC EFRON Part 3.
Yeah, James asked, does David find love in Part 3? You may just have to join us next time to find out.
Don't stop believing.
Don't stop believing. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining. We love you so much, and we appreciate you. Great job again to our cast and our crew. Thank you for joining for Token Theater's production of ZAC EFRON Part 2, directed by Helen Muraoka, and we will see you for the next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.